Sometimes it's helpful to have a short demo before you go into your partner conversation of a coaching conversation. And that's what we're going to do now. Of course, watching, sometimes it helps to have a particular focus that you're watching for so that it doesn't all of a sudden, it can get a little hard to stay fresh. So one of the foci you might use is over here. We've set up some questions that I may use, but you can certainly draw on when you do your coaching conversation, based on the adult learning cycle, also of Lipton and Wellman. So this is like a planning, reflecting conversation template. And the blue is about the different steps and intents along the way. Activate and engage, hook the conversation. Explore and discover, open to new possibilities. Organize and integrate, start closing down to some sort of next steps or actions. So there's a sequence to the questions, but they always change, and the most important thing is you're right here with the other person, attending fully and taking them forward on their own growth. So Heather, would you mind just introducing yourself to the group?
Sure. I'm Heather Johnson. I'm from the Delta School District. I'm a resource teacher, school and itinerant, and I also am a district mentor in Delta. Have been for since it started 3.5 years ago.
Okay, so this is a journey. It's a mini journey. It's not a script, right? So we're going to try and flow through in the next 6 or so minutes so you can go practice with your partner, and then that would be the close of the day. Something I want to say is a big part of this conversation is presence and nonverbals, empathic connection. It's not everything I say, it's who am I in this conversation, right? And in education, I find finding that place, I don't mean a room, I mean inside you, where you can really calm all the distractions in your life, turn off your mental monkey, and give the person your full attention. Hard to do, right? But it can be done, right? So we're going to give this a try. Would you please open your curious minds and put your judge away? Because sometimes when we're watching people, we are going, oh gosh, don't know why she did that, or what's that about? So just try and get inside the conversation, okay?
And I have no idea what she's going to ask me.
Well, this is based on your reflection, Heather.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for saying yes. So let's begin. You reflected on the capacities and skills of a mentor, and I know you've done mentorship for about 3 years in Coquitlam.
Delta.
In Delta.
I wasn't Coquitlam, it's okay.
In Delta. So as you went through those descriptions, what were 2 or 3 of your strengths that jumped out?
2 or 3 of my strengths.
On your skills and your capacities.
I work very hard at building relationships with, sorry, I'm not looking at them, am I? Right. I work very hard at building relationships with the team because we're a team cohort model. It's really important that we don't just dive into the mentoring protege relationship already. We need to develop background knowledge on each other. Building the trust, as you were saying. So that's one thing that my partners and I work very much on. And we actually do a lot of planning around that before our first meeting. The second one, I really care about people. I care about people feeling good about themselves, about feeling comfortable talking with others. We tend to be very independent and closed, especially our high school teachers, in our rooms, closed doors, in this department, that kind of thing. But I really care about building together a community of staff, of learners, of teachers, of kids, whatever. So for me, a big thing is about community. It's one of the things I really enjoy about my itinerant role. I get to see the whole district, not just my school. So
that's a good start. Do you know, I hear connecting a really deep interest or passion of yours in every single strength that you mentioned. Caring, in community, building relationships. And in mentorship, support is a huge part of our work. So that's high priority for you, really high priority. That's what's coming through. And it connects with your work, your daily work as an itinerant, and in the secondary school context. So those are values, right?
Thank you.
Yeah. caring, relationships, community.
Mm-hmm.
So there's probably a lot of other strengths that you have, but let's leave that as the platform for going forward.
Okay.
And was there an area that you would really like to focus on going into next year and continuing your work as a mentor?
Actually, this
A
was
growth
a really
area.
interesting list, I have to say. One of the things that I identified for myself was I don't do a whole lot of sitting down and looking at student work with my proteges
Okay.
and analyzing the data.
Right.
I'm one of those freaks. I love data. I've actually given workshops on data before, and going through this made me go, holy smokes, how come I'm not doing this? So that's something I'd like to work on next year with them.
So it sounds like from your expression that this was a big ha-ha for you.
Yeah.
Here you are, a data lover.
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And you weren't actually doing that in your mentorship relationships with your mentee as much as you might.
Yeah, the student work. Yeah.
Student work.
Yeah.
Right. The student work as information, evidence, data.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be correct.
I guess you've had some Wellman training, I think, in Delta, so a third point, like the data might be a third point.
Yes, very
Right.
much so, yeah. The proteges I've worked with in the last 3 years have been mainly high school teachers
Right.
who have a little tiny bit of learning support or have gone full-blown learning support or something like that resource. But definitely there's at least half of them are classroom teachers. And why have we not focused on that so much?
Yeah. So you're
Yeah.
curious about that.
Very much so.
Do you have any hunches why that is maybe not being in your radar?
I guess in our conversations, it hasn't been about data so much.
Mhm.
It's been about how do I survive?
Mhm.
What are resources available to teachers for a variety of subject areas? What professional resources are available within the district? We haven't really gotten down, and survival. We were talking about survival yesterday and all throughout today.
Right.
Survival as an early career teacher.
Yeah.
We just haven't talked a whole lot about, hey, let's look at some, we haven't done, I guess, a full-blown lesson study.
Ah.
Yeah, the opportunity hasn't really been there as it has been for some of our other groups.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So what you just mentioned there, how do I survive? How do I do a lesson plan? How do I do all these survival things is absolutely normal,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's- if you're going from the protege's needs,
Mm-hmm.
that's going to come up first order, right?
Mhm.
So that's important because you're still reflecting what they need most support with.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're saying that maybe you can move the conversation or the interests into looking at student work as well at some
Mhm.
point.
One of my roles for next year is I'm coordinator of inquiry at my elementary school.
Oh,
So I'm getting ideas for that.
okay.
Yeah.
Do these roles blend then, your mentorship and your coordinator of inquiry?
Always.
Okay.
Always.
Good question.
The school, I'm always at some 1 or 2 elementary schools in addition to the secondary
Okay.
gifted. And there's always teachers that I develop relationships with that once they know I'm a mentor,
Right.
like, hey, can we talk about this? Can we sit
Right.
down and look at this? I did a lesson, no, what was it called? The, I can't remember what it's called, the classroom snapshot, where you look at your classroom and see what the needs are. Sorry? Thank you, class review, there, it was there.
Thank you.
So the class review, yeah, and I
yeah.
did that with a teacher in about late September, early October at my elementary school last year.
Uh-huh.
And it was so cool, going through that with him was kind of like this with me. Oh, why am I missing out on this? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, lovely little parallel there, an
Mhm.
insight, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was happening for your protege, that's your language, I think, in Delta,
Mm-hmm.
and what's here happening for you.
Mm-hmm.
I'd just like to, if it's okay with you, I'd like to add something in about that.
Sure.
Right. What we just did for 3 or 4 minutes was take a little bit of quiet time to reflect on and bring forward from reflecting on. So your own practice and just illuminate it,
Mhm.
right, based on what you normally do. And you do that, I imagine, with your proteges. You step back, you talk about what's happened, and then they get this aha, right?
Mhm.
So there's just a parallel structure there.
Mhm.
When we work with new mentors, can we embed in the training or in the learning session some reflection so that they kind of step into the shoes of a new teacher as well and say, hey, let's do some reflecting for us so that we can then bring our new proteges into reflecting as well. So that's what you've just done, that aha just went on.
Mm.
So I want to get
Okay.
back to, if this is something you would like to do, what are some possible ways that you might incorporate this student work piece into your future work with proteges and your team?
Well, it'll have to depend on next year's team.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm.
How can I bring it in? Well, bring it up as part of our conversation. We tend to base our meeting goals on what was the requests of our proteges. But there's definitely a chunk of each meeting where we talk about things that my mentor team and I have thought might be interesting to our proteges.
Mm-hmm.
So we could easily bring something like this in,
Mhm.
for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
It's actually a strategy, isn't it? I mean, you can hear from them what they really want,
Mhm.
and there might be a way of saying, how about trying to meet that particular focus
Mhm.
in this new way, or would you like to give it a try?
Something
Yeah.
that's coming to mind right now is with the revised curriculum, new curriculum, whatever we're going to call it.
Yeah.
There's lots of room for that with the assessment for learning coming up. Things like the learning standards, the core competencies, all those. We can definitely be looking at taking some student work and working through some formative assessment, maybe for the year even. I don't know, or a unit or a term, depends what it's going to be.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some new edges there for you and
Mhm.
for the new curriculum as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So is there anything else you would like to say about this potential that you've just identified as a focus for you next year? Just sort of wide open, anything coming to mind that I haven't inquired into with you?
At the moment, this is enough of a start, I think,
Yeah,
for me.
okay, all right.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's something that's going into my
Sure.
mind and
Yeah,
going to present when I'm talking with my colleagues
yeah,
in
absolutely.
September.
Yeah, it's a direction.
Mhm.
So let's just get, excuse me, really concrete for the
Mhm.
last part.
Mhm.
Do you have any idea when you'll next meet with your colleagues, and you can set a little bit of an action plan in place to bring this goal focus forward for yourself?
Well, I think I'd first of all have to introduce it to the colleagues.
Okay.
It's quite interesting that about half the staff has moved on to somewhere else, and we're going to have a whole bunch of new staff. So I
Okay.
can't hit them right up front with something
Right.
like this. No.
Oh.
So I would think maybe this. Then we have our Prody in August. When is it? No, September 1st, I think it is. And I'm thinking maybe the first staff meeting, we can set up some discussion time around this, and I can introduce something along these lines as a topic of discussion.
Mhm. So in the last few minutes, we've come up with a possible focus for you. You seemed in the beginning of our chat really excited about it, and now you're a little bit quizzical about how's it going to work. But you have a possibility, as people have settled into their new roles and they're starting to get ready for the year, of raising it as a wondering. How about maybe
Mhm.
with your team? Yeah,
Because it's not all about me, it's
No.
about the community.
exactly.
Right.
I hear that
Yeah.
really strongly,
Yeah.
is that you have this interest and you want to share it with your team to see where they might spark with it or
Mhm.
not. And in the meantime, you can start, or you can continue to delve into it for yourself.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's probably enough for now on a Tuesday in the summer.
At 3:25, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, thank you very much.
Great.
Let's give
Thank
Heather
you.
a hand.
Thanks. That was fun.
All right, so we are not going to go through a debrief here. You can talk about that if you wish in your pairs, but we go into your pairs, and we said we'd be out of here by about 1:45. So you have 20 minutes, 10 minutes each, to do a little coaching conversation and give each other a minute feedback, how that landed for you when the other person was facilitating your coaching, and switch over. Use it any way you wish, but I would encourage you to try a little facilitation of the conversation. And we'll see you back here at 1:45. Now you can leave the room. Go anywhere you wish. Thank you so much.
I just wonder if that's